I'm Felice Friedson, Town Hall News, Jerusalem.
News and analysis at themedialine.org and townhall.com.
What are you doing?
A decorated Navy SEAL being arraigned today in California faces charges in the death of an ISIS detainee in Iraq in 2017.
Special Operations Chief Edward Gallagher is accused of fatally stabbing a teenage prisoner in his care and posing with the corpse during a re-enlistment ceremony. He's also accused of shooting at unarmed civilians during his 8th deployment. This case stands out because of the seriousness of the allegations and the fact that the prosecution's case involves testimony from fellow SEALs, usually a very tight-knit group. Gallagher's attorney says his client is being falsely accused by disgruntled SEALs who wanted to get rid of a demanding platoon leader. I'm Jackie Quinn.
China wasting no time getting down to business on the far side of the moon, where its Jade Rabbit 2 rover has now driven off its lander's ramp onto the lunar surface. More on these stories at townhall.com.
The following is an American Matters media production. The views expressed do not necessarily represent those of the station or its advertisers, although we think they should. But that's the opinion of American Matters Media.
Hello and welcome back to Talking Truth to Power, Nevada's Freedom Talk Radio. My name is Brendan Trainor. I'm your co-host along with Leland Faegre. And once again, there's quite a bit to talk about. A little bit of nostalgia passed away this week as the captain from Captain and Tenio passed away.
I felt that.
Yes. Did you, they used to live up in Incline when they were married?
Yes, that's my understanding before I moved up here, but I believe that they're quite.
Yeah. So we lost someone that has a Nevada connection. And it's too bad. Did you play his music much?
No, it was a little too popish for what I was doing, but I liked the work. It wasn't that I didn't care for it. He had a relationship with the Beach Boys.
Yeah.
And did a lot of session work, I'm sure, in town. But, you know, it really was, he had some good work with her, and I always liked it. I mean, I didn't have anything bad to say about it. I can't say that about everyone.
All right. All right, and then getting back to the news, I would like to start off once more with, I'm very, very pleased with what the Donald has done by announcing the pullout in Syria, and even though he's extended it to 4 months, it really doesn't matter, 4 months, 6 months, even, well, I wouldn't want it to go more than 6 months, but this pullout is a real game changer. George Galloway, the British Member of Parliament that opposed Tony Blair and Cameron and helped keep England from joining the intervention in Libya, he said it's bigger than Vietnam.
Yeah, he's an anti-Chatham House guy.
Yes.
He did not fit in well with the globalists. And on virtually every issue, you can count on him to stand up for nationalism, the UK sovereignty, which was so necessary. To lead to the trend, or against the trend of the established leaders in the region.
And I'm happy to report that there's no signs that Turkey is going to invade. They seem to be, Erdogan, Prime Minister of Turkey, or President, seems to be very happy about the situation. And the Kurds have already started negotiating whether they will either join Assad's army or simply dissolve, move to their enclave in Iraq or whatever.
Don't you think that's at Trump's direction? I think that's it. The urgency of withdrawal was his concern about Americans in the region. Mm-hmm. And then it's time that we'll do this quickly as we can, but back off. That was his message to everyone. Back off until we can get our troops out and protect the Kurds to the extent that we can. I'm sure that was the discussion.
Yes. And on Christmas Day, if you missed it, Israel launched an air attack on Damascus airport, ostensibly because they believed that the Iranians were delivering some missiles to Damascus. And the interesting thing about this is that just like before, when the fighter jets attacked the Syrian army in the north of Syria, they hid behind a slow-moving Russian intelligence ship, a prop job, so that the Syrians could not shoot them down soon enough. The same thing happened here. Apparently, at least that's what the Syrians are saying, that the Israeli fighter jets over Lebanon hid behind two commercial jetliners this time. And one of them was headed to Beirut. That continued on, but the one headed to Damascus was diverted to another air base. Now, they fired 16 missiles, and the S-300 weapons defense system that Russia has given to Syria is not fully deployed yet. The Russians are still training the Syrians on that. But they have smaller mobile truck-based anti-aircraft weapons called Pantsers, and they knocked out 14 of the 16 missiles, even though they had to hold their fire until the commercial jets cleared, the path, so they had a path toward it. And this is extremely interesting because Israel is acting very frustrated. Today, we just heard coming on the show that Israeli spokesman said that they were very disappointed in Donald Trump because he wasn't listening to his intelligence sources.
Well, they're not his sources to listen to.
Exactly.
They're part of the deep state. Why would he listen to them?
Exactly. That's been a controversy since he took over in office. And we had a NBC newsman, William Arkin is his name, who quit NBC because it's become such a warmongering station. He is a true liberal, one of the anti-war liberals, and he said that not only was he disappointed in NBC because of their continual advocacy for perpetual war, but because of their advocacy for what the Democrats call, if you turn on the Democrats channels like MSNBC, the institutions of government.
Wouldn't you want to put him on a witness stand? I mean, honestly, he knows where all the bones of it.
I would imagine.
With the Brokaw era, and all that, and how we got this. He would know.
Yeah, he sure would. And we may hear more from him, but in the meantime, that's one of the interesting things we have to talk about. And then we have several other things to talk about.
Well, we should talk about the big job number this morning.
Oh, yes. Very good news.
Up 312,000. That is music to anyone's ear except for the Democrats.
And that's a big amount. I don't know if Obama had any quarter with that kind of result.
Yeah, there were some good numbers as we were improving late in his second term. But I think what's interesting here is that it's so good that people who have given up on looking for work are now back to labor force.
Oh, great.
And so the rate has come out from 2.7 to 2.9 as this number. And previous months have been upgraded from, I think, maybe in October, it was up another 30,000. Similarly in November, so that all of those numbers have improved going back since October. So we really are on all of cylinders.
Yes, but still there are some indicators that we might be heading into a recession or at least a slowdown.
Yeah, well, if the Federal Reserve has to work, we'll keep raising rates. Because those decisions are off and on.
Yeah, maybe we'll get into a discussion about that and when we get back in the second segment.
Ready for a live game of Clue? For nearly 30 years, Forsythe Faegre has held private and
Serving veterans today, tomorrow, and for years to come.
This is America Matters Media on KTHO, a loaded broadcast station. The Power of Radio since 1967. Want to expand your advertising dollar? Sponsor this or any America Matters program by calling 775-827-8900, extension 2. Now, back to the show.
Hello and welcome back to Talking Truth to Power. My name is Brendan Trainor. I am your host today. I'm an award-winning writer from Northern Nevada here. And we have Leland Faegre as our co-host. He is up in Northern Nevada in Incline.
By the way, we had 30 degrees this morning, and for those who are dying to know, Schooner Lake is now frozen.
Okay. Excellent. All right. And so we were going to get into central banking a little bit because despite these great job numbers, there are some clouds on the horizon as far as the bond market yields are way down, and the stock market is very volatile. And our friends over at NevadaFamilies.org have a site, an article called "The Crash Will Continue," and this outlines the ideas of this particular writer. His name was Brandon Smith at brandon@altmarket.com if you want to email him, or go to altmarket.com. But he is saying that he believes that the central banks deliberately cause crashes. Now, I am someone who is trained in Miesian economics, Austrian economics. I've read quite a bit about central banks, and I know that central banks cause crashes by their very nature. They are, because of their control over the money supply, they cause what is called malinvestments. In other words, the rate of interest is a real signal to the markets. And when they mess around with the rate of interest and raising them or lowering them arbitrarily, because it's based on limited knowledge, and shockingly limited knowledge, if you really get down to it, there are people that say these Federal Reserve economists do nothing but write abstract monographs that don't have any real-world connection.
So there's only 12 of them. So
yeah.
To start with that, I mean, they are not the market.
Right.
So but these 12 elitists are going to decide the price of money.
Yes, it's progressive central planning.
Sure.
Yeah. And
comes right out of the Communist Manifesto.
But the idea that they deliberately cause depressions is not something an economist can really consider. But Leland, you are an advocate that's saying that we have an elites that are in fact causing crashes so they can swoop in like cultural capitalists and buy up assets at a low price and suck the wealth out from the middle class.
Well, we know that this is one of the powers that they use to acquire and maintain their religion is the mechanism of interest control. And the Fed was designed to do that. Now, it doesn't mean that they always pull it off. It doesn't mean that they have some sort of formulaic timetable for using that instrument. But it's certainly at their disposal. That was the open power. If you and I were print money out of thin air, which is what they do, you'd be in jail. That's counterfeit.
Yes, it is.
So,
yeah. And that's fractional reserve banking, which I believe is a 10-to-1 ratio.
Yes, it is.
For every dollar that gets circulated into the system, $10 are created out of thin air. Basically.
Right, that's right.
Yeah. And
neat work if you can find it.
You know, I worked for a while. I had a problem with credit cards, and I did go into court and beat one of those third-party credit card companies that were trying to come after me with the money. Basically, because they have no real connection with the credit card debts. Credit card companies have already written them off. They go in and buy up the debt at these auctions and then try to collect it, and all that money would be profit to them if they can collect it. But I got them out under the hearsay rule in Nevada that their assumption that I actually incurred this debt is based on nothing but hearsay. They have no first-party knowledge of what I did. And the judge in Sparks, that was a good judge, and he agreed with me and dismissed the case.
What year was that?
Oh gosh, that was a while ago that I incurred this problem. I don't use credit cards anymore. But a friend, I came in contact with a friend down in Southern California who was also doing this, and he told me that he believes that there is no such thing as a credit card. In other words, he thinks that what the banks do is when you apply for a credit card, they sell your you sell your information, and say they can sell it for $30,000, then they will give you $15,000 in credit. So in other words, he believes that it's all debit cards. All we really have are debit cards, and credit cards are nothing but glorified Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and based on the same thing that we're seeing with Facebook, is how they, and so on, about selling information. Information is a very important asset if you can get a hold of it.
Absolutely, it is. And, you know, this whole idea going back to
What's this station?
and this is one of the extraordinary mechanisms of control because of the asset. You have to show like 10% or, you know, it is beyond, and it should have never existed. But it's existed for several years.
Yeah, and this is one reason why I followed Ron Paul. When Ron Paul came out with his, he was the minority opinion, led the minority opinion along with Murray Rothbard on the status of gold in the early days of the Reagan era. And they had David Stockman then, was head of the Office of Management and Budget, and he was a gold wall like Ron Paul was. But he published a complete history of banking in the United States in my eyes. And to me, the best solution so far was the Jacksonian solution of, you know, when Andrew Jackson had his famous battle with Nicholas Biddle and the Second Bank of the United States and vetoed it. And then it went back to decentralized banking. And I think you can have fractional reserve banking as long as it's in a purely competitive market.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it could exist without causing any mischief, but the way they've used it has created an extraordinary amount of mischief. And thankfully, we didn't have a central bank until 1913, and it's not, there's no provision in the Constitution for it.
Right.
The framers didn't believe in it, which is why it's not there. It's not an oversight. They just didn't want it.
Now, under the actual rules of banking, when the banks issued banknotes, the government didn't even issue paper money. All the Constitution says is the government shall coin money, and the issuance of notes was strictly up to the banks. And what the banks were under the actual rules, if you came in with one banknote that said that the bank was convertible into $1 of silver, and the bank didn't have that $1 of silver to give you, you could shut down the entire bank.
Yeah, we don't have that rule anymore.
No. And we didn't really have it even back then because so many of the banks were state-chartered banks, and that's when the banks started declaring, the governments in the states started declaring bank holidays. And in other words, whenever a bank couldn't pay its debt, they simply closed the doors and wouldn't allow people to...
It wasn't on a Monday after a holiday weekend?
No.
Oh!
So, and those state chartered banks, not the, everybody points to the wildcat banks, which were private banks that were set up like in the backwoods of the state. And then they would overinflate the paper currency, and then that would cause a lot of problems. But nowadays, you know, I was over in Europe and recently, and Hungary, for example, has their own currency, the florins, but the florins is a pretty weak currency, and they accept euros. And when you go to buy something, you tell them what you're going to pay in, and they have calculators, and they pull out and immediately figure out the ratio, how many euros to how many florins. And we could have that today if we had alternate currencies, which is something that we're getting with cryptocurrencies spontaneously from the market.
Right, that which is a healthy thing. But, you know, the globalists, they don't like that.
No.
I mean, that's the last thing.
Unless they can co-opt it.
And, you know, the interesting thing is they've taken a lot of the fun out of travel. I mean, part of that, going to another country, is when are you going to transfer? When are you going to convert your country? You know, and to think ahead.
Right.
You know, and there's a certain timing element and strategy that you're thinking about it. And it's fun.
Yes.
They're taking all the fun out of travel.
Yeah. I could not find the Ukrainian hryvnia anywhere to pre-purchase, but I did pre-purchase rubles and florins and of course euros are easy to get. So it is interesting, and that would do away with the problem of the wildcat banks, because with the modern data that we have today, I mean, a bank, the bank of some Winston-Salem, North Carolina, we would know what their credit rating is, and you would be able to tell how much that banknote that they give you was really worth in purchasing them.
And there is such a plan for North America, under the North American Union strategy that has been under the current or under the radar as far as American people are concerned for many decades. there is a plan to unite Canada, the United States, and Mexico into a North American Union with a common currency called the America. So there is a less than sovereign grand design for the hemisphere that we live in. We better keep an eye on this, and that's part of the lack of concern about the border security.
Yes, so there is an audit the Fed bill that's been kicking around, and Ron Paul, of course, first introduced it. His son Rand is trying to get it through. But besides auditing the Fed, Ron Paul always says the best thing you could do is repeal the legal tender laws and allow banks to issue their own paper money and go back to the days of Jacksonian democracy, which was replaced by a central banking scheme even before the Federal Reserve, under Lincoln and Grant.
Competing currencies.
Yes, competing currencies, exactly what it is.
Very simple.
Yes, and that would do a lot to get rid of the business cycle that we see today.
And take it out of the hands of the elitists.
Exactly.
And that's what we really need, but the marketplace decides to fight for money.
Exactly. And we'll let the marketplace decide our advertisers when we come back.
Hello, I'm Omar Raines, author of the international best-selling book, Back to the Summit, How One Man Defied Death and Paralysis to Again Lead a Full Life of Service to Others. Now in its second edition, Back to the Summit has been reprinted.
Your source for all things local. This is American Matters Media on AM, KCKQ, a Lotus broadcast station. The Power Radio since 1967. Unable to listen to the whole show, a recording of today's program will be available later today. Visit americamatters.us and click on the podcast link. Now, back to the show.
Hello, and welcome back to Talking Truth to Power, Nevada's Freedom Talk Radio. My name is Brendan Trainor. I'm here with Leland Faegre, and we're here every Friday from 9 to 10 a.m., 11:80 a.m. America Matters Media, www.americamatters.us. You can call us at 844-790-TALK. And I'd like to give a quick shout out to our sponsors, and we are very grateful for their sponsorship. And the primary sponsor is Reno Computer Services, and they are Northern Nevada's premier IT provider, computer repair, maintenance, virus protection, and data recovery, and a preventive approach that delivers secure PC performance. You can reach them at 775-737-4400 or catch them on the web at renocomputerservices.com. So Nancy Pelosi was sworn in yesterday, and all the Democratic candidates who vowed they would not support her for Speaker of the House.
Rolled over.
Yeah, he did roll over. The Republican Mike McCarthy was nominated, but of course he could not win because the Democrats now control the House. And there are some interesting things coming out. Of course, they've already filed some articles of impeachment against Donald Trump. You know, I mean, this guy has been riding that horse for a while.
They have nothing else.
Yeah, exactly. What else are they going to talk about except Donald Trump?
Yeah.
And you know, this stalemate over the wall that's going on now for quite a while. Do you think they could do it for keep doing it for 17 years like the war in Afghanistan?
It might be cheaper.
Yes, it might be. And
This new Congresswoman, Rashida Tlaib, goes on a vulgar tirade against the president, claiming that they're going to impeach. And so we're still in the lips of the expletive that she uses. I can't believe members of Congress are speaking in this manner and the spoilage of the institution that goes with it. The American people have to have it. They must have, at least at some point in the course of this year, they're going to turn these people back out, aren't they? I mean, so how could you possibly tolerate it?
I know. Well, that's the thing. Unfortunately, we seem to be a bipolar country, and we are caught in a situation where a lot of people in this country do not know anything about the Constitution or the basic principles that the country was founded on.
It's the public school.
Yes, it is the public school.
It's the legacy of the 10th plank of the Communist Manifesto, 6 to our way of life.
Yeah, and you know, the old joke is that, and I think probably Waters has done it, if you go out on the streets and ask somebody what year the War of 1812 started, they wouldn't give you an answer.
Or it could be that they don't really understand the word impeachment.
Yeah.
They think by impeaching you get rid of it. It's just a word that means trial. It's a reference to a trial.
Absolutely.
So they may not even know that.
Yeah, they may not. Yes, exactly.
It's hard to believe, but it's still possible because they are public schools.
And Catherine Ocasio Cortez, she didn't know what the three branches of government were. And she thought it was what, the House, the Senate, and the courts, or something like that.
Yeah, it's hard to know what is going on.
With the timeline, yeah. And she has a degree in economics, but she doesn't seem know the first thing about the basic laws of supply and demand.
Well, it's easy to get a degree at the college level because the teachers don't know anything either. And their bias is socialism, so they could be even deliberately misconstructed. Conceivable. I know that my own economics teacher at the college level could not properly define inflation, for example. And you would never take this guy for socialism. You know, pinstripe tie, very conservative image. But he really was a victim of his education, which has been, part of the curricula of education for decades. So he was a victim. And he didn't probably even know, and when I pointed it out to him, that is not the proper definition of the word inflation. It got his ire up, and all of these teachers at my college level were shown at the door. There's transferring in front of the teacher.
What did he say? Was it general rise in the price?
Of prices. Yeah, rather than the quantity of the money.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's just, that's the effect of inflation, not the cause.
Exactly.
The parent didn't know that. And yet he's instructing
other people, yes.
on a basic term.
I know. It's, what is it, Paul Samuelson's textbook, and Keynesian economics, and all the offshoots of those that have infected the economics profession, and that's why Austrian economics are pushed aside, and because it's anti-state.
That's right.
With Austrian economics, you don't need much of a government.
And Ocasio-Cortez, of course, can hold up her certificate that says she's educated.
Yeah.
And that passes the smell test for most people.
Yeah. And that's another indictment of our educational system, and whether or not, at least the Republicans are picking up on that and saying whether or not you really need a 4-year degree. I know a lot of lefties that have 2 or 3 master's degrees, and they just keep going back and getting more master's degrees. And then also you can be critical of the whole PhD thing, because that's also a rather recent phenomenon that's easily, it just tends towards over-specialization in the college curriculum. You really can't be a generalist anymore. You can't tie things together. You have to specialize very narrowly in a certain field and publish in that narrow range. And it's doing a lot to take away from the ability of our academic system, if there ever was an ability, to really get down and talk about matters that everybody can see as common sense.
Well, I like to generalize the Catholic this subject by saying that the world is full of sophisticated people, and yet we're in this extraordinary mess.
Yes.
Well, I don't know how often you can carry on a conversation with people about more weighty subjects. But I go months before I can run across somebody that I can even have a remotely decent conversation.
Yeah, people just stare at you. They don't, their eyes go blank and stare blank as well.
I think they would like to engage, but they don't have the basics to have a conversation, and I guess they would embarrass themselves really to go down that road. But it's a horrible indictment of civilization generally and where we apparently are going. Because as we can see from these members who have just taken their seats in the House, they're not worthy.
Yeah, I mean, I can agree with that. and it filters down into the propaganda. I mean, a non-interventionist, the word non-interventionist is not in the political dictionary. We're all isolationists, which is not the same thing.
Which was used as a pejorative by George Herbert Walker against anyone who was not global. He wanted to change it. It was deliberate. It was an attempt to pave the way for the war. And it was very offensive. I really understood what he was saying. All he was saying, now we're going to say something that he was not.
Yeah.
So it's effectively the counterpart to his description of isolation. There's no race connotation to the word national. It just means you put your nation first. You are a patriot. You believe in your country. I respect that out of every person I run across, whether they're British, Canadian, or whatever. They have that right to put their nation first. And Trump says that.
Yes. And it's interesting, my minor in college was psychology, and I'm a fan of Carl Jung. Carl Jung, I think, had it right, that all humans are collective unconscious, but we're all tied to the land in some way, deep down in our psyche. And this tying to the land and to culture is what gives us the individual expressions that we see in different religions and myths over different countries. But basically, so this collective unconscious, according to Jung, is very much tied to people's feelings toward the land. This is something that a lot of people don't want to talk about.
Yeah, and should, because this is a quintessential part of understanding where we are and where we're going, and what should be sustained. Otherwise,
and
we could be, as we've been discussing previously, we could be in at least a nation, a stage of civil war, where at least in a cold civil war, it may not be hot there, but and all of the earmarks of disorder are there.
That's something that I have brought up as well, that we may not have been so fractured as a country since the 1850s, right before the Civil War that we had, and we don't know whether this is going to come to, how this is going to result. Will it result in actual fighting in the streets? Well, not now, but there is violence going on. Like
Antifa, I mean, they're taking over the cities, and that's where the damage will initially start, I believe. And as you can see by the breakdown of the 1/4 of the federal government, there's an issue that looks like intractable, at least for both parties, at least for the time being. I'm kind of optimistic. I would like to see a quarter of the federal government just go back to the employment.
I'd like to see about 85–90% of it.
Yeah. Go back to the private sector and find real jobs. And then it would solve a lot. I don't see the phones lighting up.
Yeah. Well,
I would have expected it to like that. Maybe we don't have any federal employees.
Yeah, and I think we do, but just as to BLM. But yeah, so we're going to. Okay, we're coming back. We're going to talk a little bit more about PC and an interesting game you can play on your computer.
Great news, Reno. Our world famous commercial myth of Virginia City, there for decades, is now moving to the historic Reno Town Mall.
Join us editors. Bring the news here on American Matters.
To join the conversation, call 844-790-TALK. That's 844-790-8255. Now, back to the show.
Hello, and welcome back to Talking Future Power. My name is Brendan Trainor. My co-host is Leland Faegre. And before we get into the computer game that I was mentioning, I would like to talk a little bit about the situation with Maria Butina and the American who's being held named Leland over in Russia on spy charges. And there is a big difference between the two, and Maria Butina is a 30-year-old grad student who came over here because she was interested in ties, creating greater ties between America and Russia, especially over gun rights. She was a gun rights advocate in Russia. Now, under the Tsar, like I said, Russia was a gun zone. I mean, anybody could buy just about any kind of a gun under the Tsars. But then the communists came, and just like the Nazis, they confiscated all the people's weapons. And Russia has been, since the fall of the Soviets, Russia has not gone back to that Tsarist freedom. They are still pretty much a gun-controlled country. They recently had a mass shooting, the very first school shooting in Kerch in Crimea, in which a student shot up the school. I think he killed about 16 people, which was shocking.
College people.
Yeah. And but there is no real. Maria Butina was one of the few that was believed, as we do here in Second Amendment principles, that the answer to gun violence is more guns, not gun control. And so she was trying to establish ties, and in the process she made friends of an American legislator named Erickson in Michigan, and she was arrested and accused not of spying for the state, but of trying to influence America in a way to be more friendly with Russia, which is pretty shocking to me. Yes, I know. And the hook they used was this federal registration, this Alien Registration Act, which is the same thing that they're getting Manafort on, and so on. That if you represent a foreign government, you're supposed to register, and that is another tool that has been pulled out of the dustbin and used against people that want to,